Families of the victims of the Nova Scotia mass killings are again pressing the government to open a full public inquiry into the killings.
Public open inquiry!
A protest in Bridgewater yesterday, also one in Halifax, saw family members and supporters demanding answers. Last week, the provincial and federal governments announced a joint review of the massacre, but the victims' families say that's not enough, that it falls short of the public inquiry they've been calling for. 22 people were killed in April in the deadliest mass shooting in Canadian history. This morning, we are learning details from newly unsealed court documents. Several people told police the shooter had hidden compartments and secret rooms on his properties. That's really the starting place, really, for a conversation now with Michael Serapio. Michael, CBC News, one of the media outlets which has gone to court to try to press for some of these details in these documents, and we do have new information this morning.
New information now unredacted. Not everything was unredacted, Heather, but from the new information, we certainly are getting a clearer picture of this individual, of Wortman himself, this idea that he had been stockpiling guns and weapons and drugs, those secret compartments, a history of worrying behavior. Now, all this information is found in those search warrants the RCMP applied for in order to go through Gabriel Wortman's properties, a denture clinic in Dartmouth, as you see, a cottage and large garage in Portapic. And the information based on interviews from witnesses formed the reasons for their search warrants, the warrants applied for by the police after Wortman killed 22 people. Now, those interviewed in them, more than one witness described Wortman's violent attitude towards women, calling him a sexual predator with a history of violence who was controlling and paranoid. One witness also alleging that Wortman had for years been smuggling, stockpiling and selling drugs that included OxyContin. And more than one witness talked about secret hiding places like false walls and floors on Wortman's properties where he would hide drugs and weapons. Now, none of this has been tested in court, but what's been unredacted so far, as I said, does paint a picture that we never had before of the gunman, the man who terrorized Nova Scotia for some 13 hours back in mid-April, Heather.
Michael, I'm thinking back to some of the key questions we had at that time, that fake cruiser that was involved, the RCMP uniform the shooter had. Anything on those questions and points that are in these new details?
Well, a little bit more information, and certainly that forms an important part of the RCMP investigation. They did have major questions about how Wortman got a hold of an authentic police uniform, how he outfitted a decommissioned RCMP police cruiser. And in the past, police have said that the shooter did have estranged relatives who were retired from the RCMP, but also said that none of those relatives provided the uniform that he wore. But two witnesses, including the shooter's wife, point to an uncle who was part of the force and say he provided either parts of or the whole uniform itself. So that is something that we're going to have to be watching for as we are hoping for more information. As you said, CBC and other media outlets applying for all the records to be released. The RCMP initially asking them to be sealed. And at this point, there is another hearing in mid-August, so perhaps we should get more information after that, Heather.
Michael Serapio, thank you very much.
You're welcome.